This is Mrs. Wainwright's Math Class, Chapter 10, Lessons 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3, Part 2A. Today's lesson is simple converting of customary units for capacity. Capacity is liquids, so it's for liquid measures. But before we begin, did you hear the news? King Henry drinks unusually dark chocolate milk. Many large gulps. Remember that. Today's learning target: by the end of this lesson, you should confidently be able to say, I can do simple conversions of customary units of capacity. This is our capacity conversions chart. On the left-hand side, we see some of the conversions. So we go from large to small. 1 cup equals 8 fluid ounces. It's called fluid ounces when you're working with liquids and capacity, so you have to have the fluid in front of it. 1 pint equals 2 cups, 1 quart equals 2 pints, 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. Capacity is my favorite because we can draw the gallon guy. Some people draw them like a person, but we all know I can't draw, so I just did it with letters. And inside the big G, which stands for gallon, you see 4 Q's, which stand for quarts. So that tells you there are 4 quarts in a gallon. And inside each quart, you see 2 P's. That tells you there are 2 pints in a quart. And inside each P, you see 2 C's, which tells you there are 2 cups in a pint. And inside each C, you see an 8, so that tells you there are 8 fluid ounces in a cup. So Gallon Guy is great to help figure out all of our conversions. So let's take a look at example number 1. Dan has a cooler that holds 4 gallons. How many quarts of fruit punch can he fit into his cooler? My given unit is 4 gallons. The unit that I don't know is my how many quarts. So I need to convert 4 gallons into quarts. Step number 1 says that I write my known or my given unit, which is 4 gallons, equals my unknown, which is blank quarts. Step number 2, decide if I'm going from a smaller unit to a larger unit or a larger unit to a smaller unit. I'm going from gallons to quarts. So let me take a look at my chart. Again, for capacity, I like Gallon Guy, so I'm going to look right over here at my Gallon Guy. And I see that my G for gallons is definitely larger than my Q for quarts, so I know that gallons are my larger unit. So I write my L for large under gallons to small quarts, and large to small I know means that I multiply. Okay, so I'm going to take my given unit, which is 4, my operation that I just chose, which is times, and now I have to see what's the conversion between gallons and quarts. How many quarts are in 1 gallon? Let's go back to our chart to check it out. So I can look on the left side and I see my conversion right down here, gallons and quarts. My number that is not 1 is a 4, telling me there are 4 quarts in a gallon. I could have also looked at Gallon Guy right over here, and I can say how many quarts are in a gallon. Well, count my Q's. 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts are in a gallon. So I know that 4 is my conversion between quarts and gallons. Since there are 4 quarts in a gallon, I write down my 4. Now again, I simply solve my problem. This problem I can really do in my head, but some problems you won't be able to, so I'm going to remind you can use a little scrap, and I'm going to say 4 times 4 equals 16. That is going to be my answer that I write right up here. But this was a word problem, so I need to go back and put that into my final answer of a sentence. And the question says, how many quarts of fruit punch can he fit into the cooler? So the answer will be 16 quarts of fruit punch can fit in Dan's cooler. And that's my final answer. Please stop the video and complete worksheet number 1 right now. Now I get to example number 2. Brooke needs 6 cups of milk to make pudding. The cafeteria sells pint containers of milk. How many pints will Brooke need to buy? Well, my given unit is 6 cups. What I need to know is how many pints. My unknown is pints. My given is cups. Step number 1, write my given unit, 6 cups equals my unknown unit, blank pints. Step number 2, look at my units, cups and pints, and decide if I'm going from large to small or small to large. Gallon guy is very helpful for this because when I look at gallon guy, I see that my cups are most indeed smaller than my pints. So pints are large, cups are small. So we said pints are large, large goes here, cups are small. So I am going from small to large, and small to large means that I have to divide. So I take my given, which is 6, I take my operation, which I said was division, and now I need to see what my conversion is from cups to pints, so I'll go back to my chart. This chart will have to be memorized, but if I look at gallon guy again right over here, I see that there are 2 cups in a pint because there are 2 C's in the P. So I know there are 2 cups in a pint. Therefore, I'll write down the 2. So now I'm ready to solve, and this is a simple problem, but I do want to remind you not all of the problems will be simple, so you can always on the side use some scrap paper to find your final answer. In this case, again, this is simple. 6 divided by 2 I know equals 3, so 6 cups equals 3 pints. And this was a word problem, so let's go back to the original question and put our answer into a sentence. So the question says, how many pints will Brooke need to buy? So my sentence is, Brooke will need to buy 3 pints of milk. And that's my final answer. Please stop the video and complete worksheet number 2 right now. We now have example 3, which again is a little bit different. The question says, how many cups are there in 2 quarts? So my known is 2 quarts. What I'm looking for, my unknown, is how many cups. First step, I write down my known, 2 quarts equals my unknown, blank cups. So at my chart, I'm looking for what's larger, quarts or cups. Notice if I look at my capacity chart here on the left, I don't see any conversion between quarts and cups. But if I look at my gallon guy here on the right, I can certainly tell which is larger, quarts or cups. I see that the quart is much bigger than the cup, so quarts must be larger. Therefore, I write the L by quarts with the arrow to S, and large to small will mean that I multiply. Write down my known number, which is the 2, the operation that I just chose, which is multiplication. Now I need to figure out the conversion between quarts and cups. So again, my table here on the left side doesn't tell me my quarts to cups conversion, but gallon guy does. If I look at the quart, the Q right here, I can count how many cups are inside of it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 cups in a quart. Write that 4 down. Go ahead and solve my problem. If it's a difficult problem, I will use scrap. So 2 times 4 equals 8. So my answer is 2 quarts equals 8 cups. And again, this was a word problem, so I need to go back and put my final answer into a sentence. The question says, how many cups are there in 2 quarts? So I'm going to say there are 8 cups in 2 quarts. And that's my final answer. Please stop the video and complete worksheet number 3 right now. And our last example for today, again, it is a little bit different than the others, so it's important to look at this example. It's example number 4. The question says, how many fluid ounces are there in 3 quarts? So my known is 3 quarts. My unknown is how many fluid ounces. So my first step is to write down my known, which is 3 quarts, equals my unknown, which is blank fluid ounces. So I look back at my chart to see which is larger, fluid ounces or quarts. It doesn't tell me which is larger, fluid ounces or quarts. But on my gallon guy right here, I can certainly see. Remember, my fluid ounces are my little 8s that are inside each cup, and I can see that that 8, which is fluid ounces, is definitely much smaller than the quarts. So quarts are larger. Therefore, I put my large under my quarts to small, and then the large to small means that we multiply. Take the number that is given, which is 3, take the operation we just chose, which is time, and I need to see how many fluid ounces are in 1 quart. So again, my chart over here does not tell me the conversion between ounces and quarts, but I can indeed look over here at gallon guy. I'm always looking for the number and 1. Inside this 1 quart right here, how many fluid ounces do I see? Let's count by 8s. 8, 16, 24, 32. So there are 32 fluid ounces in 1 quart. I will write that 32 next to my operation. And I don't know 32 times 3 off the top of my head, so this is a problem I definitely need to use scrap for. Put the number with the most digits on top, so 32 times 3. 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, so 3 quarts equals 96 fluid ounces. And again, this was a word problem, so we need to go back and put our answer into a sentence. The question says, how many fluid ounces are there in 3 quarts? So the answer will be, there are 96 fluid ounces in 3 quarts. And that's the final answer. Stop the video and complete worksheet number 4 right now. So let's review. When asking to make conversions, like in this example, it tells us that Brooke needs 6 cups of milk, but the question doesn't want to know how many cups she needs, it asks how many pints she needs. We're going to be converting cups to pints. We take the known, which is the one with the number, so in this case it would be 6 cups, and we're changing that to pints. That's the unknown. So first we write down the known, 6 cups, then we write down equals the unknown, and again in this case, which was blank, the unknown will always be a blank, and pints. So I need to convert cups to pints. In order to do that, I have to decide whether that's small unit to large unit or large unit to small unit. I eventually need to have this chart memorized, but right now I can look back. And I like to look at the gallon guide chart, and I see that cups are definitely smaller than pints. So cups are smaller than pints. Therefore, I put the small under cups, since cups are smaller than pints, the large under pints. Small to large, which I need to have memorized, means I divide. So I take the known, which is 6, the operation I just chose, which is divide, and then I need to see what the conversion is from cups to pints. Again, eventually I need to have this memorized, but right now I can look back at that chart to find the conversion unit. And when looking at the gallon guy, I see that inside the pint there are 2 cups. So there are 2 cups to every pint. And that's how I came up with this too. That's my conversion of cups to pints. Now I simply solve the problem. 6 divided by 2 equals 3, and that's my answer. Of course, if it's a word problem, I go back and put my answer into a final sentence. So hopefully, by now you can confidently say, I can do simple conversions of customary units of capacity. As always, we will be doing practice in class. You do need to memorize the conversion chart. You will not have the conversion chart for your tests. So please go home tonight and start memorizing that now. Good luck with this lesson.